So what are you curious about working with today?
Standing, which seems to be a basic thing.
That's okay. That's why it's good to work with. So what are you noticing? What's the
I find that when I stand with my feet, what would be normal, I guess, what I'm used to, I lean to one side or the other, which tells me one of two things. The balance is off forward and backwards, or it's off side to side. I'm not really sure which one. I also tend to kind of stoop forward when I'm standing. I think I've gotten sitting down, which again seems to be a basic thing, but I seem to be okay with that. Lower back pain is gone, which is great. And when I play cello, it's super loose, which is also really good. But as someone who sits down a lot, I don't think so much about standing. And I feel like with my toes in, or rather, I guess, parallel, we'll call them parallel, I feel like then I'm putting too much strain on my knees, on the front sides of my knees. So I'm not sure if that's a balance thing.
Well, yeah, great question. I mean, it's partly that we haven't quite finished this whole work with the foot and the legs, because we've been concentrating on bringing the instep in and finding that joint in the ankle, the second joint in the ankle.
The twisty one.
The twisty one, which is the one that people just don't find and don't know about.
I actually went to my girlfriend and I was like, oh my God, guess what? She was like, what? Look what I can do with my feet. She thought
it's cool, like, oh, so. A new joint I never knew I had. Yeah. But we're going to then work next week at coming up and stretching the arch a little bit more, finding some movement in the arch, and that will probably bring the knees a little bit back and round.
Okay, because it feels like they're pointing, if these were my knees, it feels like they're wanting to come back and inwards. Which I guess makes sense because you're kind of leaning like that. So.
Yes, yeah. So there are a couple of things that we can do there that will kind of give us some information about that, and we can look at you standing. So I think the first thing I'm going to suggest you do is that we actually start with seated, although it may seem strange, but just to look at that whole knee issue that you're talking about.
There we go. That was a really old sound. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Just the occasional.
Good. So as you're there with your thighs parallel and your feet, but they're parallel, and remember that you can kind of work that out by saying, oh, heels beneath your knees, and then looking between your knees, and can you just see the insides of your big toes? Great. Now your weight is probably on the outside of your foot, correct?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Just a little, okay. So pull the instep in to bring it, yeah, and that brings your knees together, and that's okay. So one of the things that you need to do is work a little bit more with this, because this is
I forgot about that.
So pull the instep in, keep pulling the instep in, breathing. You're going to, and you might have to pull quite hard against it with your hands, but do it slowly. And you should start to feel, and you might just need to do one side at a time if that's too challenging.
Kind of through here?
Yeah, but you'll feel this, and this is the stirrup. Do you know that we've got like this stirrup that comes, the muscle comes down. We've got actually the iliotibial band coming down the front, the side at the outside of your thigh, and then comes down the front of the shin, just on the outside, comes over the front. Is it behind or in front? In front of your ankle, under the arch of the foot.
Okay, so kind of through here.
Yes, there you go. So just kind of trace this down from the top of your knee. Yeah, we're going down just on the outside of the shin bone, so you can kind of feel the bone. And then we're going to go scoot over to the inside, yeah, inside your ankle to the arch of your foot. There you
Gotcha.
go. You go all the way underneath, so you can reach round and come up behind your ankle, yeah, and then it comes up sort of deeper into the muscle at the back. It's not as far forward as the first one. Yeah, that's it.
Oh.
Comes all the way up through there. And that's probably what you're feeling as you,
Gotcha.
yeah. So that's that stretch there. And that's going to take a little bit of rebalancing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you're kind of pulling those out, one or the other, you will feel, oops, that's just reminding me that if I'm not starting this lesson, we should be starting it. So you'll really feel that stretch happening. And that's something that you'll need to do it daily for quite a while to just get these muscles evened out and the tone evened out. Because what happens is, we're walking like this, wide, and so the tone of the back one gets tight and the inner one gets loose, and then we say, oh, just a minute, we're going to do this, and they need to reorganize themselves and sort themselves out. And that's all that's going on there. But
that makes sense.
Yeah, and this is strictly speaking not really Alexander technique. It's just a way to even out those muscles.
Because now I'm actually feeling it back through here.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah.
I guess where it would cross over here.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. So the other thing that you can do, which I find helpful, even on the foot, I have a slight bunion on my right foot. I don't have one at all on the left foot. But I find this is useful even on the foot that I don't have bunions for the same sort of reason that, again, I'm going to find that same place with the heels underneath the kneecaps. Yeah, underneath the knees. And I've got my outsides of my feet are parallel. I can see my big toe. Now I'm going to really think about, as I pull the arch in, I'm actually going to have my hand here to just resist against so that my knee has to stay where it is. And now this is a little bit like our moonwalk activity. I'm going to come up onto my toe, making sure that my front of my ankle comes straight forward and doesn't arch out like that. And then come back down again. And that too, you might find that, oh, there's that stretch.
That actually feels like more on this side.
Yeah, I find that actually, yeah, if anything, a little bit more effective. For me, it was at any rate. So, oh, I'm pulling the instep in and I'm coming up, making sure that I keep pulling the instep in. There's that stretch. And your toes will also start to open out, which is why it's good for people with bunions, because their toes get scrunched together. And it gets those toes opening out and it gets the joint really flexing. But I think it really also helps to stretch out these overly tight muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Because when we were lifting, I noticed that after a minute or so, my heels started to want to kick out.
Yep.
Which would make sense. Because now it feels like this is just super tight and it's pulling on it.
Right. So we're actually just giving it a stretch. So you're just kind of doing it slowly. So, yeah, we're letting you stretch. We're letting you stretch. Enjoy the stretch. Enjoy the stretch. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. So do that every day. And I think you'll find that it starts to get much easier and that your knees and feet reorient themselves.
Gotcha. I found that my balance feels just dramatically better, especially when I'm standing and playing, because I had my lesson today, and Sean was like, Dr. Hawthorne, professionalism. Yeah. He was like, oh my gosh, you look like you're not going to fall over. You looked like you're going to fall over for the last 2 years. So what happened? And I was like, I think it was my feet. I don't know. He was like, how do you normally sit? I just go, it's like, well, yeah, that's why you almost fell over. Because I guess with the cello, your tendency is one of two ways. You either lean too far back or too far forward.
Yes.
Because your legs are at the side. So you take something that normally sit like this and you bring it out. But doing this, even though you can't bring your legs together, still gives you that feeling of I can lean into my feet more.
Right.
And that lets you, the same kind of idea like tracing the line all the way up, it gives you more core stability without having to tighten your stomach. And one big thing that almost every string pedagogue talks about is like let your belly hang. So you get loose there. But if you do that, it makes you want to fall forward.
Right. And if you let your belly hang, then you tighten your low back.
And you've got this movement.
Exactly. Yeah. So one thing that's important to remember, especially for cellists, is that the legs don't come like this. You know, people think that, oh, my legs is make a V, that they're coming out here. So yeah, absolutely, you can bring those forward, and there you've got that connection. Yeah, especially if you're just pulling that instep in a little bit.
Yeah, I was actually doing that, like focusing on keeping my feet not tight, but almost pulled in.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny because I was feeling like I was going to stand. And of course, I was talking to him. He was like, oh my gosh, Starker was always like, if there's a fire, you should always be able to jump up really fast. And if your feet are turned outwards, you can't do that. I mean, you literally can't lift up.
Yeah, great.
I had noticed that. So it was full circle moment.
Perfect. That's wonderful. That's really exciting. I would say with the belly that you want to find, again, evening out the tone with the pelvic pulls.
Yeah.
Great for you. So it's not tight, but neither is it kind of all floppy and big belly. It's like, no, there's the pelvic pull. Here's your upper body, which we talked about with the arm pulls. So yeah, that looks like it's a great cello playing position and very different from what you were saying. You know, the last time we worked, you said, "Oh yeah, I think it was when I had you do this when you turned out." It was. Back. You said, "Oh, and but I think a big part of it was got to be like." It's like, "Oh yeah." So I'm glad you said that because I had that on my list of things. Like, oh, maybe we need to talk about that a little bit. But you've worked it out. It's great.
Yeah, it's definitely helped a ton, and I've kind of found a balance between how much of that tilt should I have when I sit. Because initially, I almost feel like I was overcorrecting it, and then my back had become kind of a primary curve again.
Right.
Which isn't really good. Up at the top, it's okay because that gives you some mobility in your shoulders, but low is going to push you over.
Right. And so, what I think was happening was you were actually sitting on the back of your seat buttons.
I was. And then I actually mentioned that to him as well, and he was like, I could see that being helpful, but I could also see it causing you to want to fall backwards, which is going to make you want to hang on to the cello, which you really shouldn't do. You should pull it towards you. And you mentioned that, which was so helpful. Literally, those two things together, he's like, it sounds like a totally different person playing because I'm not leaning into it anymore, and I'm not feeling like I'm going to fall backwards. So it's just resting.
That's great. Yeah, that's your ideal, that you are self-supported, and the cello just is there.
And it allows you, especially in the hand, because a big cello thing is to not squeeze. Because if you squeeze on anything, it's no longer mobile. So the goal is one finger. If you were to hang from a door frame from that one finger, that's the feeling you should have in your arm. Just kind of a gravity-supported tension, not so much of a muscular tension. And you can't do that if you feel like you're going to fall forward or backwards because you're constantly hanging onto the cello.
Exactly.
So by being able to just let the cello sit and rest into you and then let your arm rest into that, it's almost like you're kind of putting your hand on your own shoulder. So it sits down in it really comfortably.
Lovely. That sounds great. Great work.
Yeah, it's super awesome. It's so cool, and I'm super excited about it. I've been telling everybody, take Alexander technique every day.
Well, good. Thank you for the advertisement. So let's look at how this translates into standing now. So you might want to just change your camera a little bit so that we can see what's going on there for you.
You have to come really far back. Oh gosh.
You might not be able to get the whole of your body in, but we'll see what we can do here. Okay, let's see what happens for you.
Less of a jerk, still a little bit, but a whole lot less.
Yeah.
And especially sitting. Sitting goes really well.
Yeah. So just for the moment, just sit there, look ahead of you. Yeah, good. I'd like you to actually do a front arm pull. Remember where you pull your elbows out, forwards, down, and the top of the breastbone pulls forward and up from the sit. There you go. Yeah. Just breathe and hold that. Now let your arms just gently come down. Yes, what's changed there, Ryan?
This came up a lot.
Yes, yeah, you were really very kind of concave there. So that's really nice. Good. Now, Just let your nose feather track, because I want you to come into that space of not being too left brain, not being too, oh, I know how to do this. We're going to let something new happen. Yeah. Good. So do you remember the pubococcygeus muscle, which is the one that connects to the tailbone and comes sort of between the legs?
Yeah.
So I'd like you to just find a little tone in that, just as you're sitting there. Great. And I'd like you to continue the idea that the pubococcygeus is pulling forward as you rock forward, as if you were getting ready to stand. That's it. Let your nose feather guide you. Eyes are switched on. Really nice. Yes, keep that coming. Keep the pubococcygeus forward. Good. That's it. Keep it coming forward and move into standing. Keep the sense forward. Now there you lost it.
Yeah. I think my feet are a little too far forward as well.
Maybe. Yeah. Good. So you did a really nice job. Did it feel as if your back was curved in the wrong direction?
It didn't.
It didn't.
Was it?
Okay. Good. No, it was looking great. It was looking great.
I think that might be what it is, because when I stand, I tend to lose a feeling of
yes, you
not tension but support.
That's it. There's a little arch happens. You try to still trying to pull yourself up a little bit. So I'm going to let that pubococcygeus really help you. Better. Better. Yeah. So just so it's right at the place at which you say, okay, now I'm standing, and there's a change. And I want you to just pause right before you would say, I'm standing. Good, and just stop. That's it, that's nice. Now renew that sense that the pubococcygeus comes forward. Yeah. Good. Now I want you to just let the ladybug guide you.
I really think it is my legs. It almost feels like I have to like shift forward to get enough upward motion for my chest or calf.
Okay. Yeah. So just pause for a moment and let's let go of the little parts and just find the whole again. Ah, there you go. Good. So remember the thoracolumbar fascia, that big sheet of fascia on your back? Yeah. Good. Let the breastbone come up and away from the seat bones. There you go. Yep. Now your ribs, where do the ribs go with this? They're going to go back and wide. Still keep the top of the breastbone forward and up. Ah, yeah. Good. Great. Now just rock forwards for me. Don't stand up, but just go forwards, 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 forwards. Good. Keep those ribs back and wide. Yeah, there you go. Nice job. Now, push into your feet a tiny bit so it feels as if you're pushing your hips back as you come to stand. Yes. Did that feel different?
It did. Is it my back that's coming inwards?
What I see happening here, Ryan, and you'll be able to see when you look on the video, is that as you come to stand up, you do a really nice job of coming here, and then there's a little bit of this happens to get you up. And I think it's that you're still thinking about pulling yourself up, rather than this all coming back. That's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because what I was thinking was happening is that I was caving like this. So I was trying to brace this way.
Yeah. So if you remember, as you come here, you think this back and wide, and the feet really send and your psoas too is working, and it's sending there you go, sending the hips sort of arcing back and up like a little rainbow. Better. Just pause for a moment. Good. Stand up. Yeah. Just renew that sense of your psoas. Make sure you're breathing. And the psoas is going to help you as you come down too. That sliding back and up through the back of the, there you go. Nice. Yeah. Good job. Now, there's a little bit of wanting to switch your visual system off. Yeah. So I'm going to encourage you to, and I know it's like thinking about 6 dozen things at once, but to really see what you see. And don't just say, oh yeah, there's something in front of me. Really track with your eyes, because we're wanting the body to do as much self-organizing as possible. And it's your eyes and your nose that's going to really help that.
Gotcha.
Okay? Have a go now. Taking your time. There you go. Good. And then do the same when you come down. Really see what you can. Good. That was nice. So when you do the vision, you do a nice job. And the only thing we need to just tweak is that right as you are coming to stand up, just renew the sense that, oh, ribs are coming back. Your hips are coming not forwards, but your hips are actually coming backwards. So as I am coming through here, I'm thinking as I push into my legs, it's as if my hips are going backwards and curling up.
I see what you're saying. I can visually see it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, did that feel different?
It did. It felt, again, that kind of smoothness here, I think is what I'm looking for, at least.
Right. And that's that big thoracolumbar fascia. That is just those big lifting muscles that help lift you up. Good. So just pause for a moment. Pause, because we've kind of got into the, doing this little bits. Find the mind in the brain. There you go. Yeah. Mind's in the brain. Just let the nose feather track around, dust that practice room a little bit. Yeah. Now keep your mind in your brain. Let your eyes track. Send the email to the ribs to remember to come back and wide, to that big thoracolumbar fascia to help you. Good. And then keep your mind in your brain as you gently take yourself to standing. Lovely. That looked really nice, Ryan.
It felt different. It didn't feel like it wanted to break.
Yeah. That was good. So let's do it for sitting as well. Just take your time. Find your mind in your brain. Keep that peripheral vision going. Everything around you is important too. Yeah, there's a little way when coming back. It's almost like you're kind of bracing, like, oh, will I find the chair? Will I find the chair? So I want you to just realize that you're always over your feet. You could, it wouldn't matter if the chair wasn't there. You could still say, oh, no chair. Up you come. So great opportunity to practice the mind in the brain and standing again. But I'm going to have you pausing on the way down. So just take your time, mind in the brain. Ribs are coming nice back and wide.
Oh, I felt that one there.
Yes, that was pull yourself up rather than send the whole psoas and pelvis back and up. Yeah, a little better. Good. So back up a little bit so you're really close to the stool. There you go. Great. Good. So I'm going to call out pause, and I want you to actually just stop in space. start whenever you're ready to sit. Pause. Good. Notice where your weight is. Are you over your feet? Are you more on your heels?
Or heels.
Or heels. Okay, so balance yourself out. So you're equally. Good. And then carry on. Nice.
Ah, it's a balance thing.
I think it's partly a balance thing. Yeah.
And then coming up, I imagine be the same issue. So should you still remain kind of on both, or do you want to lean more towards your ball?
No, you want to be equally on balls and heels equally.
That would make sense, because when I stand, it feels like I want to shift from my heels to the balls of my feet. So I want to do like this kind of motion.
Uh-huh. No, that's you moonwalking. We don't want that here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely what it was. It's
Good.
definitely.
That looked much nicer. Yeah.
So the same thing should apply.
Same thing should apply here, yes.
Yeah, it's the feet.
Yeah, so that was really nice, except you didn't let your eyes, you were sort of fixed. You were so busy concentrating. So let's see if we can keep the mind in the brain and just send that email down to your feet to say, oh, we need to keep balanced. Good. Great. Now let's add just that sense that while you're doing that, the pubococcygeus is pulling forward. So you're keeping your balance, and you just have that little sense that you're always pulling that pubococcygeus forward. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. So when you come to sit, Ryan, what's your sense of where you're moving from?
I actually don't know. Hang on.
So there, where's that moving from?
It feels like a little bit above my hips.
And
maybe a little bit of my hips as well.
Is the waist getting involved?
Yeah, it feels like it a little bit.
Yeah. So I want you to put your hands on the creases in the legs where the hip joints are. Okay, that needs to be moving, not your waist.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then the same thing standing?
So let's just stand up. We won't worry about standing for a moment. So I want you to do a little 1, 2, 3 with the pelvic pulls. Good. That should have stabilized a little bit. Now, from the hips and knees and ankles, and no movement at your waist, just hips, knees, ankles. So take your time. So is that how, now that looks to be arching from your waist. Were those hips moving at all?
They're here.
They're here. Are you sending them backwards? Okay, so you need to, yeah, okay. So send them backwards as your knees release and the hips go back. There you go. Also comes forward, everything. That's okay. That's all right.
So it's not coming from above.
No.
It's the same motion as your legs would be, right? So if I'm just lifting my...
Absolutely the same. There's nothing happens here.
Okay.
It's all here. So put your hand on your belly and put the back of your hand on your back. Those should both move together. As you come forwards. Great. Now, if you're standing, when you come to move, those should move together. I shouldn't see that happening.
Okay.
These should move together. That's all right. Just
It's so weird to think about.
I know. Lovely. Now, when you just get there, just notice how you kind of push those hips actually forward and give yourself quite an arch there. Yeah, so send the iliac spines back and wide, have your pelvic pull. Good. Now, just start to fold those joints. As if you were coming to sit down, track your ladybug. Yeah, was that different?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Well, when this is stable, you can't really throw this either direction, but it also makes you feel like you don't have to.
Yes, exactly. Beautiful. That's okay, but you were doing a really nice job of keeping everything supported and aligned. Follow the ladybug, follow the ladybug, follow the ladybug. There you go. Now bring her back up. Beautiful. Yeah. Yes.
Gotcha. I think it's a mixture of balance of my feet and movement across here, or rather movement here instead of movement through here.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. The two things together is that the waist wants to get involved, and then you really knowing that your weight stays solidly on your feet will give you that grounding. Yeah.
Yeah, the two hands really helped because you can literally feel. Oh, I moved that a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that.
And you've actually got plenty of space for the pelvis to come between the legs. I mean, again, we've got to remember that there's lots of space here. So, we think about, oh, my legs sort of make a V, but no, they don't. When you're sitting, there is plenty of space for the pelvis to rock between the legs.
That's true.
Yeah, lots of space. There you go.
Man, right about there is about where it stops, but that's still.
Yeah, that's a long way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good. So follow your ladybug as you come to stand. You're doing great. And feet send those hips backwards, not forwards. That's it. Yes, that looked really nice that time.
Gotcha.
Good. That answered those questions?
It did a lot. Even sitting down, it helped a lot with standing because I feel like I definitely have a habit of moving from here to trying to find balance from my waist instead of from moving my hips.
From the hip joints. Yeah. So really make friends with those hip joints. They're important as you're playing your cello too, because you want to be able to move if you need to. Yes, you want to be, you want to be stable, but what happens if you just need to move a little bit? You don't want to be moving from here because that gets in the way of your breath and everything else. You want this to be nice and long and supported. And I think this is also why so often you are a little collapsed here. And I keep saying, oh, do these pulls, because there's a little bit of, oh, if I collapse at the waist, then this goes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this will just help remind you, oh, yeah, everything.
Oh, that's helpful. Thinking of this tracing a line down instead of thinking of this kind of folding over.
Yeah, it's a whole. Bring yourself up.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Good. Great. Okay. Well, that was a lot of things. You'll be able to check on the recording and watch it again so that you can kind of remember and work through some things. And also see, you know, it's interesting to watch yourself and say, oh yeah, there's that curve, there's what I'm doing. And that sometimes helps trigger things. Okay, so let's stop the recording here. Good work.